And some of these kids were going to the Rockland High School, but at the end of the day, they were back in the ground. They dug 4-foot holes in the ground before the frost. They spruce boughs down on there and a blanket on the top of those spruce boughs. And they would tarp it over, and kind of like a tent, they would go into a small little cave-like hole in the ground.
We have this year in AOS 92, 76 registered homeless students. 57 of them are here in Warnerville. There are 11 in Winslow and 8 over in Vassarboro. And that is quadrupled in the last 2 years, so the highest that we've ever had. We're having families disintegrate.
The student isn't always willing to say, well, my mom and dad don't live here. My mom's dead and my dad's in jail, and I'm just living from place to place.
Their mother and father are alcoholics or substance users. They have major mental health issues. There's sexual abuse and trauma going on in the house. So they just flee. They flee the house. It's safer for them to be on the street, trying to find a place to be with their friends, family, and than it is to be at home with their parents.
So what's going to happen with what I put on your gum? You know, if something happens, oftentimes students use the school health office as first level of health care, but we only have limited resources there.
We have very young females, 15, 16, 17. They have substance issues. They're pregnant. We had a young 17-year-old girl that literally was just about going to give birth outdoors. She was literally homeless. They were sleeping in a van. And she had a son who was born with his intestines outside of his body.
And then the young lady had mental health issues herself. She was bipolar. The aunt didn't have a vehicle. No one was willing to take this young lady to the doctor's office. Her meds never got refilled. She never followed up with her appointments with her primary care doctor. She never followed up with her counseling appointments. So the young lady's behavior became more unpredictable. She became more explosive, and there was a lot of conflict in the home with the aunt.
We see so many situations where children have mental illness and are so challenging for their families, and it just sort of tears a family apart, and the next thing you know, the kid's run away and is living on the street. And it almost feels hopeless of how to solve those problems, certainly not anything we can solve in the emergency department.
They don't have a place where they can go if they're sick. Imagine what happens to one of these kids when they come to school and they've got 102 fever and they have to go somewhere. And sending them home, where am I sending them? And then if you have somebody who's got chronic illness, diabetes.
And then the emergency department becomes the only place they can go when their illnesses have progressed to a very serious point.
His mom moved to South Carolina, and there was a family willing to take him in, but they would only do so if he got main care. And so one of the requirements for him to get main care was to have evidence of his birth record or some sort of ID. But the problem was, didn't have a birth certificate. He was born in another state. Didn't have a state ID because he didn't have a birth certificate. And it was always a circular process. We could never get what we needed. It seems as though there's a barrier every step along the way.
It's a tough one. It's you know.
I don't think the general public realizes the largest, fastest growing population of poverty in the state of Maine is children under the age of 14.